Item J, live broadcast ends. The remaining items will not be broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 25. I will give it about 10 seconds and count that transition. All right. Public comment. The public is allowed to speak on items or issues that are not scheduled for discussion on the agenda. Comments should be limited to issues and items germane to the business of the governing body. The commission will not discuss or debate these items, nor will the commission make decision on items presented during this time. Members of the public will be limited to 3 minutes for comments.
James Chisum is a piece of shit. And I sent videos around town showing that. I'm sure I'll be called names because I said that, but that's okay because this is about a bigger issue. We have homeless people on the street that can't get services because of the insolent and hard-headed attitudes of people at LCS, the Pallet Village, Burt Nash, the Treatment and Recovery Center, all these different places that are supposed to be providing these mythical wraparound services. I want to know why it is that my city tells me that I can't have a copy of the pallet service agreement because they only have a draft form. That's the email that I received from the city clerk's office, that the city only has it in draft form. I'm telling you right now that the city is using it in a completed form at the Pallet Village. Why am I being lied to? They have a completed form that they're using at the Pallet Village, a check-in, and James Chisum actually decided to play word games with me about whether it was a site agreement or I don't even know what he never really defined it. All he said was it wasn't a site agreement. You can watch the video. He made it for me. I didn't go out there to make a video. I made a video because I went out there. And I purposely would not go behind closed doors with him because of the manipulative word games that he was playing, and I wanted to stay in view of his cameras because of what he tried to do. You have homeless people on the street right now that we tried to get some clarification for, tried to help them overcome some issues that they're having with objections to pallet conditions. One of those conditions, from what I'm understanding, is that pallet residents are not allowed to be in politics, or it's a problem for them to come to these meetings. You know, they're not allowed to come to these meetings because they would be out too late. They would lose their seat. They would lose their spot. They would be out for the night, right? So you've excluded them from the political process. That's pretty cool. But James literally minced words with me and then told staff that I couldn't have that. And staff members at LCS inappropriately got out of line with me. The only person in there that didn't treat me like I was a problem, and I wasn't a problem, but the only person that didn't treat me like a problem was the person in there that's known me for 20 years. Maybe you dumb fucks should listen up a little bit to some of the people that have known me for a while, like you in the middle there that can't run a meeting. You don't know anything about me. But I understand a lot about you and your class issues. Keep watching the clock, Bart. That's pathetic that you can't wait to get me out of here. It's absolutely pathetic that that's your view after that little spiel you read at the beginning. How far over?
Sir, you're causing a disturbance. Please ask.
Oh, right?
I will ask you to.
I'm the only one you've gotten like that with in the last 2 meetings.
Any further public comment?
I would speak on that issue, but it's being taken care of already, and all the paperwork confirms everything. But I did want to let you know, and I know it probably doesn't matter because it hasn't mattered for this long, but fighting my case, I didn't feel safe with hiring a lawyer, so I represented myself. I ended up changing my lifestyle over the lies. And I ended up having 2 heart attacks, had 4 stents put in, but I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is I've noticed that since the COVID money ran out, everything kind of went to shit. I never seen you guys argue or anything about anything. I watch you guys all the time. And I just, people that's not willing to come up here, and that's lifelong residents that have property and dealing with sick parents and everything, they keep saying, what's going on? Why did our taxes keep going up? And they lifelong, I'm talking about 40, 50 years, 60 years. So I just think, honestly, I think that needs to be taken care of. All these little special groups that everybody's doing. I went to Heartland for mental health, and I've never felt so uncomfortable. And I've been to mental health my whole life to begin with. And just going in there and getting the paperwork with 100 different genders and stuff like that, and just feeling uncomfortable. And I felt that way since this incident, going to the hospital, and I quit going to cardiotherapy because I felt uncomfortable because of comments I was getting about my health online that nobody should know. And I found out later that officers' relations worked there. You know what I mean? So it just made it to where I couldn't even continue with that. And I actually got my stuff right here, my heart medication, just in case. That's why I'm not going on that topic, because I'm a little worked up more than I wanted to be. And I just wanted to say, for the people that don't got the time, they're probably asleep already, to come in here, and since you guys moved it to the end of the your guys' work session, I just wanted to come in and say, please get your taxes under control. Honestly, you guys can't keep funding stuff off of old people that's lived here, worked all their life, and retired and living on SSI, and barely keeping up with their land and all that just to maintain where they finished working at. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So, and I honestly think that some of the fire calls, because I've been vigilant about that they use, instead of counting each call, they count each department that goes to a call, each vehicle. That's how they get to 50.
Time, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Dr. Justin Spees. On January 12th, 2021, Lawrence Journal World published an article titled "Lawrence City Commission Speaks Out Against Violence at the Capitol, Those Who Voted Not to Certify Election Results." So this was 6 days after January 6th. Lawrence city leaders on Tuesday strongly condemned the recent violence at the U.S. Capitol and the votes of Lawrence's congressional delegation not to certify President-elect Joe Biden's victory. At the Lawrence City Commission's regular meeting, Commissioner Lisa Larson expressed her anger about the storming of the Capitol last week by a pro-Donald Trump mob and the subsequent actions of some elected officials. Larson said the insurrection at the Capitol must be answered with the fullest weight of the law, and that the president also must be held accountable. Quoting her, "The calls for unity and not accountability by some should be answered with the unity to impeach and convict Donald J. Trump and expel him from ever having the privilege of holding a federally elected office. It is only then that we can begin the hard work to unify our nation and address the ills that have driven us into this deep division." Larson also proposed, and her fellow commissioners agreed, that the city should draft a letter to the elected officials in Lawrence's congressional delegation who voted against certifying Biden's victory. She said, "To our elected officials that voted to overturn the electoral votes, even after you watched the uprising, the destruction of our Capitol, and the call for murdering our vice president and congressional leaders, I say shame on you. You took an oath to uphold our Constitution and are beholden to protect us from attacks against our government." So I got a couple questions about that. First of all, how does January 6th have anything to do with your guys' business? How is that germane to your guys' business? I have a lawsuit against you guys for 2 incidents that happened here where I was speaking about rent and I was speaking about masks and mask policies that you guys had in place, and was stopped both times and said it wasn't germane. So how is January 6th germane to your guys' business? Second question I have here is, I've been sitting here through this whole meeting, not to mention that on Saturday, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump had an attempted assassination where anti-Trump person, pro-Democrat, came within a fraction of an inch of blowing his head off. murdering him right on stage and not a word of condemnation or anger or anything from you guys? What is this deep division you're talking about, Lisa Larson? You talking about the pro-democracy party going and trying to blow the head off of their political opponent? Is that the democracy you guys are talking about? Is that the division you're talking about? Why aren't you talking about that? Completely skip over the fact that a former president who is now the Republican candidate for president was almost murdered on live TV, and you're not saying anything about it. But January 6th, got it. Is that your guys' bias in action?
Hi, I'm Chris Flowers. I'd just like to make mention that I sent in public comment earlier, and I'm here tonight though to talk about well, one just quick suggestion. I heard something mentioned about people in Pallet not being able to attend here. Is there any way you could set up some type of Zoom meeting where they could Zoom in, like from the meeting, like from whatever community building they have or something, just something so that they can be included in a city commission meeting. Also, just when it comes to how the meeting's being run, I want to say I'm okay with the job Lil John is doing as mayor, and no, because here's why. He does allow people to say stuff. He like, if it was Commissioner Sellers, I think it'd be much more focused on following the rules and procedures, which I'm against that type of it being run. But I just want to bring this up because we've had numerous meetings where we talk about how we're running these meetings, but you all never talk about what the mayor's supposed to do when you're elected him. You know, like if we're gonna be, if what's said, like if what's being allowed, if what's okay, hold on, if what's to be allowed or what's to be allowed to be said or whatever, that's the job of the mayor, like to allow, like how close do you follow the rules about when can you shut someone up. So I mean, if that's going to be a big deal, why aren't you all discussing that when you're electing the mayor and vice mayor? And I have some other thoughts, I guess. Also, I just want to say part of the problem lately is you moved public comment to the end and you quit broadcasting it. So then you make that big statement. I think subconsciously that makes people want to cuss. Like you're giving us the okay because you're saying, hey, we're no longer broadcasting now. So if you're doing that, that kind of sends the message subconsciously, like it's okay to get more vulgar now because look, how many people are here now? I mean, it's hardly anyone's here and you're no longer broadcasting it. So I think that makes it more likely that people will cuss. And also, if you do make changes, do Lawrence listens about what the public wants when it comes to public comment. Thank you.
Hello. Excuse me. Patrick Roth. There was a recent BZA board meeting. There was an attempt to discuss John Hassey's appeal. So I just wanted to, on behalf of Save the Wakarusa River Valley Group, just mention a few things that may or may not ever be given an opportunity for us to say them. So first and foremost, should that appeal ever be heard, Patrick Watkins must recuse himself as he was, or at least was an attorney for the developer. John Hassey's appeal is in a perpetual state of deferral, thus removing his ability to have proper due process. Hassey's appeal should be reinstated so that it may follow standard BZA process and procedure. The planning staff does not have authority to make legal determination of standing. This is determined by the BZA. Once the appeal was filed and scheduled with the BZA, the planning director overstepped their jurisdiction. The 14-day response time issued by Ms. Week is arbitrary and not authorized by law. Planning does not have the power to issue a 14-day response time. City planning blocked the public's rights to hear John Hassey's appeal and justifications to the BZA. Planning Director Jeff Crick obstructed public engagement opportunity for an updated final interpretation of no rise. By request of the developer, Crick wrote a final interpretation of no rise. Crick initially used an inch measurement as he went off the dictionary definition because it defined measurement is not identified in the floodplain regulations. The developer sent a letter to Crick stating New Boston Crossing could not move forward with the inch measurement of no rise and asked if they would use the foot measurement that FEMA goes by. The final interpretation document states changes must go to the BZA. Crick did not follow that guideline. Instead, he updated his final interpretation to use the foot measurement as the developer asked. The applicant, Pat Watkins, removed his appeal to the BZA as the goal was obtained by simply editing the original final interpretation. We now have two instances, Hassey's appeal and the final interpretation where city planning has subverted the BZA. The planning department has lost integrity as they have abused their position by blocking access to the BZA. Additionally, by blocking access to the BZA, planning has removed the rights of community engagement and the voice of the people. Due to these two instances, this raises concerns for potential future cases, especially as we will adopt a new land development code. And then lastly, the H&H study also did not take into consideration the development of the Wakarusa watershed based off of the comprehensive land use plan. The measurements excludes portions of identified tier 2 growth. And John Hassey's appeal refers to taking into account the entire watershed with full development. And as we consider a new land development code, there should be some opportunity for the public to be able to comment on these issues instead of the closed loophole that we now deal with. Thank you very much.
All right. Any on Zoom?
No, Mayor.
All right. Bring it back to us.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved 5-0. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.